Hey everybody, Master Gallengeist here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my PlayStation 5 review. So, Sony's been doing, Sony and various retailers have been doing promotions where they were offering percentages off on pretty much the PlayStation 5, and I wanted to get one that had the disc player inside the console, and they had it with like $50 off, and they also had a sale kind of going on with certain kind of games, and I decided to get the ultimate version of Spider-Man Miles Morales, since that came with the remastered version of Marvel's Spider-Man as well as the Miles Morales portion. And I'm like, okay, I didn't play it on PlayStation 4, so it's kind of cool to kind of like check it and put it through its paces for the PlayStation 5 and see how that kind of works for me. So, let me show you my setup right here. Alright. Yes, we got them both together, and an important bit is the differences in the design. So, we've got Sony's being really big. Now, granted, I like them both vertical because I can get pretty much nice airflow and everything, so that way they don't choke to death on their own heat. But you can see like the monolith design and the kind of weird shape that Sony's kind of got for it, and it's like the vagina and the chode, man. It's really kind of weird. So it is something that you have to keep in mind when you are buying these for like entertainment kind of consoles and whatnot. See, I've also got my external hard drives hooked up to them as well. Whereas my external hard drive for the PlayStation pretty much has PlayStation 4 games. And the thing is, I mainly just utilize this for exclusives and whatnot. But the thing is, most of the people, when I'm talking to them, I'm like, hey, I'm getting a PlayStation. Most of the ones they talk about are kind of like FromSoft games or games I've already played that have, I'd have to figure out what to do with to do a PlayStation 5 version, or things that are multi-platform that I can play on one or the other. And normally my preference is I'm mainly in the Xbox ecosystem. However, I do think that if you're in the PlayStation ecosystem, that this works out pretty well. Because even though it was different with Xbox, like, I pretty much just had to move over my profile to the Series X, hook up the hard drive that I'd had all of my games on, and boom, I'm ready to go. PlayStation, I had to do this kind of setup where I kind of hooked it up Ethernet style and then transferred my data that way while still having the hard drive that I could hook back up to it. So I had to go through kind of a little bit of a different process. It wasn't painful or anything, but I think it would have just been better to be able to like work it out that you just get all your stuff over onto an external, hook it up, and there you go. Now also, this has an SSD in it that isn't quite a terabyte. It's kind of less, but you can switch out the SSD at a certain point. Now granted, since I've got a beefier kind of hard disk drive, I would just pretty much move anything that I need to onto that one, and then make sure that I've got what I need to on the SSD for playing like the PlayStation 5 games or whatnot. It's the same kind of principle that I utilize with the Series X as well. Whereas with that one, you cannot remove and upgrade and put another kind of SSD. That has a slot for a proprietary SSD. Let me switch. As you kind of see right there, in between all the cords, let me use my finger, pointer right there. Alright, it's essentially just an SSD operating upon the same kind of rationale as a memory card. So, it's two different kind of ways. I like the ease of use with the Series X, but it leads to proprietary kind of shit, which is usually more expensive, which are just like, whereas with Sony, you actually kind of have to like get in there and like make sure that you've got everything off of it before you do it, and then remove the SSD and input whichever kind of SSD that works within the system. So I usually kind of give that more of an edge for a consumer kind of friendly kind of stance. But if you're in the PlayStation ecosystem, it's different than switching over with the Xbox. I think that they could have done it a different kind of way, but if you're in it, it's not really that bad. As we see here, shifty. We've got it looking kind of like this, and we also have our controller. Now, out of everything for the PlayStation so far, the PlayStation 5, this is the best kind of bit. It is a, I believe, better put together, better constructed controller than the PlayStation 4 one, because it doesn't feel as cheap. It feels sturdier, snappier. It has a weight to it. Now, granted, one of my bigger kind of gripes is that I have to keep this thing in standby mode in order to charge this controller. Now, that gets into the issue because of, let me show you right here. Here is the cord for charging. Now, granted, I could get a longer kind of cord and kind of like this with the Xbox. That comes into the effect of, since I usually game here, that I can kind of sit on the bed, and play and have it charge at the same time. I can't really do that unless I sit vastly closer with the PlayStation. So, that's just one of my criticisms. And the thing is, whenever I have to, like, oh, okay, I need to go do something real quick. I usually hook it up, and the thing is, for overnight charging, you have to have the console on standby mode for it to pretty much charge your controller. Whereas with Xbox, I can just hook it up, turn it off completely, and it still puts power and charge into the controller, so that way I'm ready to go when I need to. So I pretty much have to kind of wait for it to charge the controller and then turn it off, which is inconvenient. It's not like the biggest kind of criticism. It just is more of an annoyance, and that I usually just have to keep more of an eye on my power consumption with the controller. So, yeah, it's a good controller. Typical. It's got haptic kind of motor functions in the triggers. I usually turn off the vibration, though, because it just messes with your hands sometimes, and you're like, I don't need that. So, let me see. Shifty. Alright, so this is kind of what you look at. It kind of switches over and plays some stuff. It doesn't have themes that I know of, because I looked up what was kind of going on with how to try to get themes. So it mainly just takes the thing from the game that you're playing. Alright, so let's kind of get into one. We'll actually get into two. This is Marvel's Spider-Man. Now, granted, this was a digital code that came with the Ultimate Edition of Spider-Man Miles Morales. That boots up pretty quickly. Yeah. Man, yeah. And... oh, come on. Okay, this is just really hard to do one-handed. Ah! Oh, God. Okay, I thought that would kind of kill him. How the swing, Spidey, swing! While we're getting insane rantings by J. Jonah Jameson. But you do some kind of cool stuff here. I'll be also doing a review of these two games. Well, pretty much together. Let's see here. No. Sorry, I switch. Whenever I play games, I make sure that... What the fuck is that? Oh yeah, I stopped doing that at a certain point. I make sure that I stick with a certain kind of one. If I'm doing Xbox, I do Xbox. If I do PlayStation, I do PlayStation. And you saw how fast that was to pretty much fast travel like that, so that's pretty good. SSD really getting the workout. So the thing is, I didn't play it on PlayStation 4 or anything, so I don't know how that compares. Alright. Now, real quick. Do this. Let's shift this here. Alright. So now we're going to show a little bit of Miles Morales. Now, one of the weird things is, this vertically, you have to put in the disc like so. Which is different than how I've usually had to put discs in. It's kind of strange that you put the... You have to put it the outside facing inward. But again, that's more just a getting used to thing more than anything being bad. So we've got Miles Morales. Let us pop into this real quick. Pretty much the same kind of concept. I don't know. I mainly just played this PlayStation. This one was more kind of short. I would liken it to... I'll get into them when I get into their reviews, but we'll show how... See, that's pretty damn quick. Like... And we still get J. Jonah Jameson talking shit. That's just fucking funny right there. Alright, let's do a fast travel just to show how fast this is. Now, I haven't played any of the place... Like, that's pretty fucking fast, man. That's really good. So, speed really works out to what's kind of going on here. I don't want to replay activities right now. Thank you. And I haven't played any PlayStation 4 games or anything to really kind of mess around and see if that makes any difference or whatnot. Because I've normally just already kind of like played through those games, and I'm very I don't normally replay games unless I'm doing it for like a review to like remind myself what kind of goes on, but I might do some kind of things to see how PlayStation 4 games or whatnot kind of work with this, because there is backwards compatibility for PlayStation 4 games. There's more of a list of the ones that aren't backwards compatible than are backwards compatible, which, that's good. I do like that they put more of an emphasis on backwards compatibility and actually trying to do that kind of thing. That just goes to show why we need competition within the console space to make sure that backwards compatibility is a thing and preservation of games. Otherwise, they're going to make games obsolete or whatnot, and then they're just going to just do the bare minimum to try and like, hey, buy this again, where it's like, but I've got it. Now, granted, I understand that there's technical issues of emulating hardware and software environments for that kind of thing, but I do like that you have the ability to play PlayStation 4 games on your PlayStation 5. I wish that Sony was better and more pro-consumer and being like, here's some PlayStation 3. Here, like, granted, PlayStation 3. No, granted, there are PlayStation 3 games that you can play, but I don't think it's as big. Same with PlayStation 2. More of that in the kind of streaming kind of ecosystem of streaming the game to the console. I just think that you should be able to pop in the disc and play it. And of anyone that would be a boon to would definitely be within the PlayStation ecosystem, since we are on PlayStation 5 right now. The fifth PlayStation console. Sony is pro-consumer. It'll get people to understand your vast catalog by being able to play through the catalog. Okay? Please be pro-consumer. I want that kind of stuff. And really, other than that, I don't think that there's anything really horrendously wrong. Other than some weird kind of popping audio issues with mainly the remastered game, there's nothing that really went fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-today on this. It was just as easy as doing stuff with the Series X and porting over to that. Now, granted, I have heard rumblings of a Slim and that they're doing a detachable disk drive, and I just wanted to make sure I had one with the disk drive in it. And since they had a deal, and I'm like, hey, let me test this with the Spider-Man game and everything. It's kind of funny that the same thing that kind of happened with the Series X happened with me with the PlayStation, where it's like, okay, I got the Series X and mainly was looking at other kind of games, and then there was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla that came out. I'm like, I'll go for this. I found it for like $10 off somewhere, and I was like, all right, let's use this to actually test it to see what this thing can do. And that's why I like to do it with the Spider-Man games. It's like, hey, I didn't play these before, and I'm glad I did. I had fun with them, and I liked what they kind of did with the Marvel Universe for what they do. Now, granted, I'm going to do a separate kind of thing on those. But if you're into PlayStation and you have the ability and the capability to find a PlayStation 5, I'd say go for it. Like, it was not painful whatsoever. And I think you'll get a lot out of it, especially with SSD and the controller. Like, granted, I cut my teeth. Well, yes, I'm going to go old man kind of mode here to give you what I'd kind of experienced as a gamer. My main kind of console, mostly when I was younger, was actually PlayStation. And granted, that mainly started with the PlayStation 2. I started actually with the Sega Genesis. But PlayStation 2, playing through that, got a lot of cool stuff, but then I shifted over to Xbox, and then I got mainly used to that controller. And this PlayStation 5 controller is definitely better than what I did when I got back into PlayStation with the 4. And that is a really... I know it's stupid to be like, hey, you should mainly buy the console for the games, but you need to know about the controller, because that's the main way you're going to interact with the damn thing. And honestly, this is such an improvement over the 4. It's not like I hated the 4. I liked that it was still like the 2, the PlayStation 2, but this one has better quality to me from what I was feeling and with how I was playing with it. Like, it just fit my hands better. And it just felt better to play. Yeah, I know that's kind of weird. Like, the biggest kind of selling point is, like, the controller. It's like, what the fuck, man? But since I'm not into as many of the kind of exclusives on the PlayStation, this will probably get a little bit less. This is mainly for any of the weird, odd JRPGs that don't pop up on Xbox. Though, granted, lately, a lot of the kind of series that I've been afraid not coming to Xbox have been coming to Xbox, such as the Persona series. So, I do like that. And we'll have to see what happens with Final Fantasy 16. That was also kind of a deciding factor as well. However, we also got information that Final Fantasy 14 will be coming to Xbox as well, so it would be really fucking weird if Final Fantasy 16 didn't come to Xbox. But that's just the kind of weird console shit that goes on. So, if you're into PlayStation, I would definitely recommend this. Nice upgrade. The ability to port things over is not horrendous whatsoever. It's a little bit weird in my opinion, but it's not like it's you got to do some weird fucking networking shit. And especially if you're into their exclusives and their ecosystem. I'd even say it for just having it as an exclusive machine if you can get it at the right price that works for you. I understand that even people would be like, hey, $50 off, that's nothing. I don't want to go for that. That was my tipping point for it. I'm like, disc version. They had also a sale on the Spider-Man game, and that's where I kind of went for it. So, let's see. Yeah. So those are my thoughts and opinions on the PlayStation 5. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you like it, if you don't like it. And I hope you guys have a good day.